I'm Matt,
And I'm Rissa.
and we're here to coach you in how to have an exceptional life.
And today we're talking about being right. How does that show up for you, Matt?
It's not that I be right, I just am right.
I kind of thought you might say that. All right, Matt. I think this is a really great topic for you to talk about. I don't mean this in a negative way. You are a very smart guy.
Yes, and this was, for me, my breakthrough in personal development. This is what had me want to continue down this path. I was in a 200-person seminar, 3 days long, and they asked, "Why do you want to be here?" And people were like, "I want more confidence. I want to be able to speak up in crowds. I want to, feel that, this, that, and the other." And I was just watching this going, this is great for y'all. I'm excited for you. I got this. I'm good. I'm going to go.
I'm a great person.
Yeah.
I'm confident.
Yeah.
I'm right. Life is good.
Yeah, honestly, it was like, y'all want what I got. And I hope you get there because it's awesome. And I actually walked out and I had a conversation with somebody after I left. And, we talked about what had gone on. And he said, "That's great. Those people will get that and it will be wonderful for them, but that's not what you're going to get." And he said, "What you're going to get is you won't have to be right all the time." And I said, "What is that supposed to mean?" And he said, "You won't have to be right in every aspect of your life." And I said, "Mike, I don't be right. Like, I just am right. Like, I've taken an IQ test. There's a mark that says genius. I was in that area, right? I'm really smart. I don't try to be right. I just really am. And I see things people don't see." And he said, "I got that." He said, "What's that like for you?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "What's it like living life being right?" I said, "Okay, well, I'm driving down the highway and I'm in the left lane and I know what the person in front of me should be doing. Sure as hell know what the person back of me should be doing, right? And there's the person in the middle lane who, if you're in the middle lane, you're absolved of all responsibility. But like, if you speed up or slow down, like you could help the situation." He said, "Okay." He said, "What else?" I said, "In line at the grocery store." It's a long time ago. Grocery stores didn't have look up a history video. But I said, "You're in line at the grocery store, right? And everybody's like just taking their time. And there's the little dividers, which are up front at the cashier, but the cashier's not sending them to the back. Nobody needs them at the front. You need them when you're putting your stuff on there, right? And then the person in front of me, again, you could be speeding this up. Maybe we don't have to use all of our change today." And he said, "It sounds tiring." And I'm like, "Mike, it's exhausting." And he said, "Well, what's going to make it better?" And I said, "If everybody would just do what I told them to do, it'd be so much better." And not even just for me, like their life would also be better. Like the people that I care about, the people who I interact with, the people that I love come to me and they're like, "I don't know why the relationship ended. I don't know why she doesn't want to be with me." I'm like, "I know. Same reason the other ones don't want to be with you, right? We've told you this over and over." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's an interesting thought. Like, maybe there is something to this." And so I went back in and I did, the 3 days and walked out. And that was the real breakthrough for me, was in seeing how often I had to be correct. And I lived my life being correct. Things weren't a matter of opinion. There was the right opinion and the wrong opinion. And I knew there were smart people in the world, and I knew there were idiots in the world. And the way you could tell the difference between the two categories was, did they agree with me or not? And I did love the people in my life, and I did want them to have a great life. But me being right about how they should live it was not producing the result that I wanted. It wasn't actually contributing anything to them. And I got to see how much that had impacted my life. I really do see patterns other people don't see. It made me great in business. It's made me great as a coach. But then I would get angry that other people didn't see these things that I saw. That made them idiots. But really, it's simply that I have a gift or an ability that I have practiced over and over and over again that other people don't have or haven't practiced. And it's like watching a great basketball player, an all-pro, get upset at their teammates for not being as good as them. No kidding! You're better than us. That's what makes you great. And being able to look at it that way gave me a lot of freedom around not having to be correct and even being willing to be incorrect because it would actually pay dividends on things like connection, happiness, peace of mind, etc.
So would you say that those are ways of being that were more important to you than being right?
Yeah, they're more important to, honestly, in my opinion, everybody than being right. We just don't see it in the moment. Our brains have been conditioned over thousands of years of evolution that being right is survival.
Yeah.
We did not get to the top of the food chain by having bigger claws or running faster or whatever. We got there by prediction. We are better at predicting things than other species. And that enables us some great advantages. We do pattern recognition incredibly well. The problem is we don't have to survive against saber-toothed tigers. If there's a rustling in the bushes 10,000 years ago, and I think it's a rabbit, I am removed from the gene pool, right? If I think it's a saber-toothed tiger, and it's actually a little bunny, I don't get Haas and Pfeffer tonight, but I'm still around. And so evolutionarily, we get weeded out of the people that are bold or that, take the risks and everything. What's safer is being safe. You don't take the risk. You don't do the analysis of, what's the upside. You look at what's the downside. And then we be right about that. It is very important that I be correct about my opinion and you be wrong about your opinion because that adds to my survivability. Every time I make a correct prediction, every time the world lines up the way that I want it to, based on safety, based on security, based on comfort, based on predictability, that rings a bell in my head that rewards me by saying, great, you did a good job, keep doing this thing. And that is like a drug for us.
Yeah.
Nothing feels better than being right or somebody else being wrong.
Definitely. And it's really clear, evolutionarily speaking, why this is a benefit. So our machinery really makes us feel that being right is life or death, even when usually it's not.
Absolutely.
And we really take it personally when we're wrong. Like that feels devastating because that was what kept us safe in the past.
And it's important that our brain treat it like that and that our brain tell us that so that we weed out the things that were incorrect information to let us keep the things that were the good information in case our survival ever depends on it. But for most of us in today's day and age, you have about 5 to 10 seconds every 5 to 10 years of an actual life-threatening situation. And outside of that, our brain is just hyper-vigilant in case this is the next moment, right? It's the old, story about a kid walking through the street banging two pans together at 6 a.m. as loud as he can. And his neighbor comes out the door and goes, "Kid, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm keeping the elephants away." It's like, "Kid, I'm not an elephant for 1,000 miles." He's like, "I know. Doing pretty good, huh?" That's how our brain works. Our brain is constantly trying to protect us from that life-threatening situation, that attack on our survival, even though evolutionarily we're good. Seen very few saber-toothed tigers out there recently, but my brain doesn't react like that.
Yeah. And instead, it keeps us from having the love, friendship, connection that we do crave and need as humans, but it feels less like a life or death to have.
Correct. Correct. Because we don't have actual things to worry about, I can already hear all the commenters. You don't know about my job. You don't know about, right? But because we're not concerned about our actual survival, our brain will find something. There's a great little Lenny Bruce 7-minute comic about the Lone Ranger, and the Lone Ranger's there to, take care of everybody. And then one day the Messiah shows up, all evil is purged, he has nothing to do anymore. And his line is, well, then I'll make trouble because I'm geared for it. That's what our brain does. If we don't give our brain a problem to work on, it will find one. And it doesn't matter how petty or how small. That's what our brain does. It solves problems. And so we want to be giving it larger problems, or at least problems that matter to us, right? Instead of just going around letting it pick whatever it's going to pick, because it's going to pick something and then it's going to come up with a solution and it's going to say that is the right solution, and it will fight for that thing at the cost of everything else.
Mhm.
But most of the time, what we're arguing about is an opinion. Does pineapple belong on a pizza? And then you'll watch two people come to blows over it because they have to be right.
Mhm.
It's baked in evolutionarily.
And you've talked before about different types of errors.
Yeah, so, there's type 1 error and type 2 error. And type 1 error is a false positive, type 2 error is a false negative. And going back to the analogy about the rabbit or the saber-toothed tiger, we are geared to make predictions based on what will be the safest result. And then we go from that point, right? So it's much more important for us to protect ourselves against the thing that could have a bad result, as opposed to take the chance on the thing that could have a good result. It's why human beings are loss averse, and this has been demonstrated through studies, one after another, one after another. We focus on that, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If choice A could kill me or give me $1 million, and choice B could give me $1.50, right? I still choose choice B because the downside is too much if I choose door A. The catch is we look through all of our choices of life through this lens, except the choice is never $1 million or death. It's like $1 million or looking bad, or being embarrassed, or being wrong, or making a mistake in front of people. And our brain then equates all of that to an actual threat to our survival. And so we avoid those things. We have our brain, our mechanistic part of our brain, in charge of what are the things that I would love, or what are the things I'm passionate about, or what are the things that would make a difference in my life. And then that part of our brain keeps us pulled back. Don't be loud. Don't ask for what you want. Don't stand up. And, Australia, it's called the tall poppy syndrome, right? The way that you have a poppy field to look beautiful is you cut off everything over a certain line. So you don't stand up. You don't get your head cut off, right? Except we're not poppies. You're not going to die from taking that chance, from risking failure, from risking the embarrassment, even though we're then geared to be right about, no, it's too dangerous. No, I can't, it'll never work out for me, etc.
Yeah, I think that's all really good points. And then we both do partner acrobatics sometimes. One thing that I see a lot is even when someone's like willing to potentially try a different thing or potentially be wrong, there's that, well, I'll just sabotage it. I just won't fully do it. That's something that, again, is another version of trying to be right. You're forcing things to work the way you want so that the other person is wrong. But then you don't get to have that great relationship, have fun, have the skill work. Like you are choosing objectively worse things
Yeah.
than if you picked the other side.
Yeah. And it happens automatically and it happens instinctively, right? Great. You decided we're going to do the project your way. Wonderful. I told you it wasn't going to work. So I'm not going to put any time or effort into it because I know it's going to be a failure anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, duh. If you don't do anything about it, it'll go that way. But our brain is so hardwired to push for that as a survival mechanism. That's where we end up. And the key here is not get rid of that survival mechanism, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with the machine. It works exactly as designed. The key here is to pay attention, to notice where we are fighting like our life depends on whether or not blue or green is the best color for the room, right? And to be willing to let go of that visceral reaction and then create, how much does this matter? Is this something I really need to fight for? Is there a way for me to get a consensus here? Is there a way for me to express my opinion that leaves other opinions also validated, and yet I still believe mine would be the best choice, and to be able to express that in a way that works for everybody, etc. It's not getting rid of that, it is being conscious to it.
So, would you say that after that conference and after going through life coaching and learning about how you could be wrong sometimes, has that improved your life?
Absolutely. The feeling of what I tell people is it's such a cliche, and I hate it when people use this, but I literally felt lighter in the moment that I got it. And there was a specific moment at 2:33 on a Sunday, because I looked at my watch. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it, right? Like, I don't have to go around being wrong. I don't have to pretend that I'm not intelligent. It just doesn't have to be a constant fight for my superiority or my ideas' superiority. And the next day, Monday, there was an article, not an article, there was a letter to the editor in a newspaper. Newspapers were a thing that used to be published, that's where people got their news. Think of it like a comment section online. And there was a letter to the editor. The ARC was just approved. So for those of you that are not from Austin, it is a homeless shelter that is downtown. And it is right next to entertainment district. And there's a lot of back and forth about whether this was a good use of the money and where should it be built. This letter, however, said, we're approving $3 million to help combat homelessness. And while I think that's a wonderful thing, I also think that we should think about the animals, and that maybe that $3 million could help take care of, abandoned cats and dogs and build more animal shelters that would take care of them. And there was this voice in my head, I remember it so clearly, that was like, that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. Like, people beat animals, that's just how it works. And then this other voice in my head said, yeah, but it's nice that somebody cares this much about that to advocate for the animals. And the first voice was like, what are you talking about? This is idiotic. This is not the point. Who would do something like that? The second voice was like, I know, I don't agree, but it is great to see somebody who's that passionate and cares that much. The first voice was like, I don't know who you are anymore. We're not having this. And what it was me being able to let go of being right about my opinion about somebody else's opinion, about something that we have no impact on anyway. It's already been decided. And being able to notice the freedom that came with it, because normally, quite honestly, that would have lit me up for a week. Like, I'd have told everybody who would listen, did you read that that idiotic, like, who did it? And instead it was just like, oh, okay. I don't agree, but great. I'm glad somebody's advocating for that side. I cannot express how much that level of peace and freedom can make.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting to spend your week worrying about that and talking about that.
I cannot explain in detail how much.
Well, I hope that other people who can relate to this can learn from your experience.
I hope so too. Should we give them homework?
Let's give them homework.
Great. So, your assignment is simple but not easy. Your assignment is to look and find at least one place in your life where you are being right about something and it is having an impact on your relationship, either with yourself or with somebody else, or your mental health. And to let go of being right about the thing. As always, you can find out more about us at www.anexceptionallife.com. You can also sign up for our newsletter there, get reports about the 24 hours of coaching, any new videos that we release. As always, your time and your attention are yours, and you have chosen to spend them generously with us. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.